You've probably spent a few evenings scrolling through endless projector options, worrying whether you'll end up with a huge, dim screen that looks better on a shelf than on your wall. The fear of dropping serious cash on a unit that can't handle a movie night, a kid's birthday, or a weekend gaming marathon is real, and it's why I wanted to dig into the Epson Lifestudio Grand Plus before I even hit record. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the thing that makes an ultra-short-throw projector a different beast is where you can actually put it. The Grand Plus sits just inches from the wall or screen, projecting a 100-inch image without the long-range throw that forces you to clear out a whole room. In my own apartment, the only place I could fit a projector was the corner of the living room, and the short-throw design meant I didn't have to rearrange furniture or mount anything high on the ceiling. That convenience alone eliminates a whole class of headaches for anyone who isn't ready to commit to a full-blown home theater build. Now, let's talk picture. Epson markets this as a 4K HDR experience using their proprietary 4K display technology, and while it isn't true native 4K, the pixel shifting engine does a surprisingly good job of delivering sharp detail and vibrant colors. In practice, a fork-sized movie looked crisp enough that the difference from a native 4K panel was barely noticeable on a typical living room viewing distance. The real surprise was how bright it stayed in a room with ambient light. With a 3-chip 3 LCD engine pushing 4000 lumens, the image stayed vivid even when the curtains were half drawn, something you rarely see in competing laser units at this price point. Sound is another area where the Grand Plus tries to win you over. Epson partnered with Bose to embed a full-range speaker system that fills a medium-sized room without the need for an external soundbar. I tested it during a family game night, and the dialogue from a multiplayer shooter was clear enough that no one had to ask, "What did they say?" The bass wasn't earth-shaking, but it was deep enough to give action movies a satisfying thump without drowning out the mids. For a setup that doesn't already have a dedicated audio system, that built-in solution is a genuine value add. Gaming was a big selling point on the spec sheet, and the Grand Plus lives up to it in a practical sense. 3 HDMI inputs mean you can keep a console, a streaming box, and a PC all plugged in and switch between them without unplugging anything. The projector also supports ALLM, auto low latency mode, and high frame rate input, so when you tossed a fast-paced racing game onto the screen, there was virtually no input lag. That said, the projector's response time isn't quite at the level of a dedicated gaming monitor, so competitive gamers who need the absolute lowest latency might still prefer a TV or monitor. But for casual couch gaming or watching esports with friends, the experience feels smooth. One of the hidden trade-offs of ultra-short-throw units is the need for a very flat, preferably white, projection surface. The Grand Plus performs best on a dedicated screen, but you can get away with a matte white wall if you're careful about paint finish. In a real-world test, a slightly textured wall introduced a subtle screen door effect during a dark, low-contrast documentary, which was a little distracting. If you're planning to hang the projector in a room with an existing painted wall, consider budgeting for a proper screen to get the most out of the contrast and color accuracy. Installation is straightforward, but the projector does have a fairly large footprint on the floor. It sits on a low base that can be covered with a rug, yet you'll need a few extra inches of clearance from the wall to achieve the largest image size. If your living room is cramped, you might find the sweet spot limited to 80-inch diagonals. For larger spaces, the short throw advantage shines, letting you fill a wall with a cinema-size image without any ceiling mounting. The takeaway is, measure your wall space, count the inches of clearance, and you'll know exactly how big of a picture you can get. The remote control is simple, but the on-screen menu can feel a bit dense if you're not used to projector terminology. I spent a few minutes tweaking the picture mode and the color temperature, and once set, the projector held the settings nicely. The user interface isn't as sleek as a smart TV's, but for people who want a dedicated media device rather than a multi-purpose smart display, it's an acceptable compromise. Who should actually buy this? If you're a homeowner or renter who wants a big screen experience without drilling holes or sacrificing living room space, the Grand Plus is a solid match. It's also a good fit for families who watch a lot of movies together, gamers who value low latency but don't need a monitor's pixel-perfect response, and anyone who appreciates a built-in Bose sound system that can hold its own in a medium room. On